And the head scratchers just don't quit and won't quit. Why does Jesus rebuke his disciples, future apostles, for doing exactly what God decreed for them to do? Even if a Calvinist, Reformed, tulip person might say, well, they were being sinful as disciples and Jesus had to teach them, how to treat others and love others rightly, I still say, well, wouldn't that have been a great moment for Jesus to say, well, look, everything is determined. So I knew you were going to try to rebuke the people, and I'm going to call you sons of thunder because of this. And, all of that stuff had to happen. But that's because God determined it. Then go on to rebuke them. Wouldn't that make more sense according to tulip determinism, Reformed theology? In case you're wondering what I'm talking about, Luke 9:54-56, Jesus rebukes James and John, who says, hey, these guys are making fun of you there, Jesus. You want us to call down fire and burn them up? And Jesus rebukes them for that. And again, the head scratcher is, why does Jesus rebuke what perfectly happened according to God's will? The exact decree and the divine determinism that's just rolling out in perfection. Why doesn't Jesus glorify it and then explain it, then rebuke them? Why does he rebuke them at all? Why doesn't he just let it go? Because that's the way it was. In case you don't believe determinism exists or that God predetermined all things, I know this is not for every Calvinist, Reformer, or tulip person, but many of them believe these kinds of things. Here's the 1689, two different quotes from there. This is actually an article from a Reformed theology website. I wish I had a better statement of it, but I think that's the year and the name of the article. Here's all determinism and how it works. So again, back to the head scratchers. If God decreed all things that come to pass, and God knows all things, or Jesus knows all that's going to happen, why did he rebuke James and John for being James and John? For acting according to their sin nature, human nature that God predetermined, decreed, and maybe caused for a bigger purpose. Maybe that was the first cause to the next cause to the next cause, and it was a perfect plan. Why the rebuke? Why not more clarification from Jesus within the rebuke? Because it would make sense if, again, the reformer says, well, sin, you can't have sin, and Jesus has to teach us how not to sin and how not to have bad thoughts about our neighbor, right? Love others the way I love the church. Love your neighbor as yourself. So why does Jesus rebuke God's predetermined will and plan? That's the head scratcher.